Hey guys, it's Jen from the Ezekiel Effect. Shalom, shalom. I'm back with a quick word, just a follow-up. This is a part 2 from the word I was giving earlier today. We were talking about breaking free from the idol of people-pleasing. And the Holy Spirit was just kind of inviting me to give more of a backstory to that, or maybe even a psychological perspective to that, because that's my training. That's what I do for a living. I have extensive trauma-informed therapy training, and I do a lot of attachment work with clients. And so if you know anything about the fight, flight, freeze, or fawning response, basically when the nervous system is under any kind of threat. So basically there's 3 criteria. When things happen to us too quickly, when something happens suddenly or without warning, basically, or too intensely is the other one. Too quickly, too intensely, and without warning. Our nervous system doesn't like those kind of changes. It's extreme. And so a lot of times it can push our nervous system into one of those kind of responses, either a fight response or a flight response where you feel like you have to get away from something, a freeze response, which is where you kind of get like the deer in the headlights. You kind of freeze up and you don't know what to do. You feel immobilized. And then probably the least talked about one is that fawning response. And that's the one I wanted to focus on today a little bit, just that people pleasing. So all of these responses are things that we've experienced in our lifetime at some point, probably on multiple occasions, because we've all had things happen in our life that have happened unexpectedly, too intensely, or too quickly. You know, it could even be, someone rushing us, feeling like we have to get something done. Maybe when we were a child, we were always rushing. Maybe our family was rushing around, or maybe we were doing a sport and, I played soccer, but maybe some of you, were doing baseball or volleyball or football, and maybe you got hit from the side on the head. You got a head injury. You didn't see the ball coming. You didn't see the opponent coming at you. Okay, so that can be a trauma that can cause the nervous system to go into one of those responses. It could be a car accident. It could be emotional trauma. It could be a developmental trauma or an attachment trauma related to your family of origin. Maybe you had an alcoholic father or mother or relative, or someone who was just emotionally kind of volatile, and you never really knew how they were going to respond. So maybe you kind of stayed in this hunker down kind of freeze response, a lot of your childhood. So these are patterns that we learn early in life. These are not things we necessarily learn as adults, but usually the patterns are laid down in the brain. They're called neural pathways. They're laid down early in life. And so we're more likely to get into these kind of typical responses when we're older, and unless we break those patterns. So that's why we were talking about breaking the idolatry of people-pleasing, because if we're in this chronic fawn response or people-pleasing response where we're afraid to upset someone, we're afraid of being rejection, oftentimes that spirit of rejection, that orphan spirit, it can come in through trauma. Let's say we had a parent who every time we, did something they didn't like, they just freaked out and they yelled, or they maybe physically got aggressive or abusive or something like that, or they maybe they said something derogatory or critical. Maybe they were swearing at us. It could be a number of things. Well, we might just decide as a child, I've got to, keep this person happy, keep them from being upset. I've got to be a pleaser. I don't want to upset them. I don't want to rock the boat, because as a child, you depend on adults for your survival. You don't have any other options. So you feel like you have to do these things, and they actually become very automatic, ingrained kind of responses. So what we want to do now that we're older and now that we're more aware is bring these unconscious things to the conscious awareness by saying, oh yeah, there's that pattern again. Okay, when I thought about doing this, I was afraid that this person would be upset, so I didn't. or, you know, that person last time I was with them, I didn't really feel good vibes being around them. I just kind of felt uneasy because, you know, they were gossiping, they were just kind of being negative, they were even saying critical things about me, and maybe you were afraid of standing up to that person and just being, you know, assertive, maybe even having a healthy boundary by stepping back from that person. Maybe that was hard. There's actually a book called Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud. It's a really popular book. It's really, really good. You can get it on Kindle, I'm sure, also any bookstores, Amazon. But it's a really great book that helps. He's written a lot of good books, but that's one in particular that I recommend because it helps people come up with I statements, learning to be assertive, learning how to set healthy boundaries. Just because you grew up with a person, just because they were, you know, somebody that you were walking with in certain seasons, doesn't mean you have to keep walking with that person if you're trying to set boundaries and they're not respecting you. So there's different scenarios that we go through. So breaking free of people pleasing, it's a complicated process, but I'm just kind of illustrating some foundational types of things, and it takes some of the crazy making out of it. Sometimes we feel like we're the crazy one because we have a hard time setting boundaries. And the truth is, we're not crazy. Our nervous system learned probably when we were a child that it had to adapt in order to survive, kind of like becoming a chameleon. And so when we realize that our old adaptive responses are no longer serving us in the present, we can begin to change those. And that's where we want to call in the Holy Spirit. We want to ask Jesus Christ. We want to ask the Lord, you know, to help us. We want to ask for that strength, and He will do it. And so that's part of what this journey is about. So I just wanted to come alongside you and just kind of normalize some of that, that we're all in this together. There's a lot of help available out there. You don't have to feel like you're doing this by yourself. Unlearning some of those old patterns is not easy. And like I said, I do this with people every day. I've had to work through so many things. I'll probably do another video about this because my brain is just, for some reason, really excited about this topic today. And I'll probably share some examples that maybe you can relate to. So for now, I just want to say be blessed and shalom, shalom. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. If you like what I'm saying, if this is really ministering to you, please subscribe, hit the like button, share it with people that you know or even that you don't know. Just get the word out. And until next time, take care. Bye.